Hello, English teachers. My name is Kelly Bivens, and I am presenting with Dr. Hassan bin Talib. And the name of our presentation is Place-Based Learning and Designing Relevant Curriculum for TESOL. The objectives for our lesson today are four. The first one is I will introduce myself and how it is that I'm an ESOL teacher and what my experiences are. Then we will explore place-based learning. Then we will present 2 case studies. And then Dr. Hassan bin Talib will be in the audience there to answer any questions you may have. So my name is Kelly Nicole Bivens. I have a specialist degree in TESOL. TESOL for us stands for Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. I got that in 2011 from the University of Georgia. I have a master's degree in teaching additional languages from 2004. And in 1997, I received an undergraduate degree in French. I have been teaching for many years. I was an elementary school teacher for 6 years, a middle school teacher for 12 years, a high school teacher for 5 years, and cumulatively 3 years for college and university. Most recently, I've been teaching at Athens Technical College here in Athens, Georgia. I'm also proud of the time that I got to spend as a Fulbright for teachers of global classrooms. And you will see some pictures from my experiences in this presentation. Also, this is a picture of Irene. I had the pleasure of teaching her in middle school and high school. And all students, I use their pictures with permission. Okay, so what is place-based learning? Place-based learning in education, it can be called place-based education, uses local topics of study to strengthen student academic knowledge and skills, while simultaneously placing an emphasis on student research and participation in service projects to increase awareness about select topics. According to a partnership between entities including the National Park Service and the U.S. Forestry Service, place-based education, PBE, immerses students in local heritage, cultures, landscapes, opportunities, and experiences, using these as a foundation for the study of language arts, mathematics, social studies, science, and other subjects across the curriculum. So why, as an English teacher, should you use place-based learning? Place-based learning is specific to your teaching area. You do not need expensive materials because the topic of study is what is in your area. You and your students can study history, science, literature, etc. In return, students become passionate and knowledgeable about their world and are often encouraged to work and make it a better place. Today, we will look at 2 examples. This first example that we're going to look at is from Madison County Middle School. And it's called A Year-Long Look at Our Local River. English Language Learners, Science, Conservation, and Building Community. And we did this through to build their local expertise in Madison County, Georgia, which is a rural county. Students arrive in my classroom with varying levels of English, and most of the time with no English. My job is to teach them academic English as fast as possible. Teachers here in the USA are graded by how well our students do on state-mandated exams. They spend 45 minutes per day with me as their ESOL teacher. Rather than teach conversational English, I build my lessons on the cross-curricular topics that add to what students already know in their home language. The case study we will look at next included students newly arrived from China, Thailand, and many Spanish-speaking countries. Also in ESOL classes in the US are students who are fluent in oral English, but not yet proficient in academic English. This is probably the majority of my students for this particular year. So I had newcomers, people who had no English. And then I also had many students who were born and raised here in the United States, but who, because of circumstances, did not reach the level of academic English to pass the state ESOL exam. So they are essentially ESOL students until they reach that level of academic English. So for this unit, it was actually a year-long look at our local river, and the academic standards I pulled from were the water cycle, animal migration, particularly fish. We looked at geographical terms, we looked at photosynthesis, talked about the importance of rivers, and the use of rivers by indigenous population in our area before European arrival. So you can see that we touched on several areas across the curriculum. We even did math. So this is a page from my website, and it's probably the quickest and easiest way for me to give you an overview of our year of study. The question I posed was, have you ever wondered what it's like to teach with the Sustainable Development Goals in mind to middle school English learners? Please follow along with us as we take a year-long river journey and lift up SDG 6, or Sustainable Development Goal 6, which is access to clean water and sanitation. These are the leaders that you see pictured here. There were approximately 40 students in all who were involved in this project, but these are the ones who stepped up and became the spokespeople for this project. We had, in this town that I was teaching in, a river. And what I noticed after speaking to many of the students is that every one of my students had access to a body of water wherever they came from. If they were from China, if they were from Mexico, or if they were from Thailand, they all knew what a river was. So this was our common base. What was surprising to me was that the students we shared the middle school with, the people who were born and raised in this county, did not necessarily know the name of the river. They mostly knew they had a river. So I, as a teacher, wanted to make sure the students, all students, not just the English language learners, but I wanted them all to learn the name of the river and the benefits of having a river. So our leaders became responsible for teaching what they learned to their peers who are not necessarily in English in our ESOL class. I will give you the link to this website so you can see all the plans I created. But essentially, we began by surveying the students in the school and found out that only a very few knew anything about the river. So my students became experts in learning geographical terms for rivers. And that also corresponds with the water cycle in 6th grade and the types of rocks that you find in a river. So we became fluent in those words in English. And we also used base languages of their native languages as a platform. I partnered with their English teacher, their language arts teacher, not English as a second language, but English that everyone receives. And they read 2 books that supported our curriculum. One was called Holes, and the other one was called A Long Walk to Water, which is situated in Africa. And I recommend it as a book that's easily accessible to English language learners. So this was the question that the students posed to the entire school body. Is there a natural flowing stream of water in our county? Our county is the area we lived in. And as you can see, most of the students didn't know. So that was where we started. How can we teach them about the river? So we used our local context of a river and all the vocabulary affiliated with it to learn English. The students went on to do their own private studies, and we had a showcase of learning where the other students learned about what this group particularly would have learned about, or what this group learned about. So it was a showcase of learning. We invited teachers, and it was exciting for our local ESOL students to become experts. We also I wrote a grant and was able to go on a field trip to see where the river water is captured and cleaned for our water consumption and uses. I always like to have advocacy because students like to make the world better. So our students wrote to the governor of our state to let him know about our river and that they wanted our river to be kept clean. As a final project, the students, they wrote poetry and had their pictures made, the leaders at our river. So I will include their poems at the end of this. At this point, I'm going to turn the presentation back over to Morocco, because these pictures were taken there. I had the lovely experience of visiting this high school in Saleh. And there I met many wonderful professors and students. And I loved my experience, and I was able to come away with a better awareness of schooling in Morocco. And while I was there, I met a professor of science, and he's there with you. His name is Hassan, and he had a magical way of teaching students. And I'm going to say that he is an expert. So I write here, I was intrigued by what the students were learning in their classrooms. They were engaged in their studies and happy to welcome us. However, what I saw outside their classroom was one of the best examples of place-based learning I have seen in all my years as a teacher of this topic. Dr. Hassan bin Taleb created a living laboratory on the grounds of the school to teach biology, horticulture, and many other topics of science. Here's his student was telling us all about his class, and here's some evidence of what the students were learning. What fascinated me when we were first entered the school is how much nature there is everywhere. There were examples of water in use and conserving water, and the importance of agriculture. And here you can see a recycle bin out of tires that are used. We don't have water fountains like this where I teach, and so I was intrigued. This young woman was cupping her hand to drink water. And what you'll see in the next picture, and if the video will cooperate, is when the water enters this basin, as you can see, the water travels along, and there are the plants that Dr. Ben Taleb has planted there. What does he do with the plants? I am so excited to share with you. He teaches the students how to grow and plant these plants and trees. So here they are. These are the ones that have been growing and capturing water. And the students were so happy and proud of their work. They saw themselves as scientists, and they couldn't wait to show us what they've been doing. As you can see here, these trees are more mature, but they started as babies. And he has walked his students through this process for so many years that these trees are many years old. So many generations of students have been his students, and they have learned the process and have been able to carry that with them. Here, in addition to basic biology, he's teaching them about the olive tree and even grafting. Students learn grafting and other valuable science and agricultural skills which help and are important in building local economies. The olive tree Dr. Hassan bin Talab cultivated here is hardy to pests, which makes it profitable. In the United States of America, we call this training of students workforce development. So not only was he teaching the students about it, but he was teaching them to become agriculture based, and they could learn how to take these olive trees and create their own gardens and farms and market their products. I didn't want to forget that he had a lovely compost pile, so he was teaching students about the necessities of good land management practices and how to take care of old branches. As you can see here, more of his trees that he's planted, and the students were just so happy to show us around. So academic science standards are relatively the same across the globe. Students need to learn basic concepts such as photosynthesis and the value of natural resources. Place-based learning encourages students to become good stewards of nature while giving them exposure to the target language and does not cost the teacher a lot of money since the curriculum is local. I end with this quote from the Asia Society. Possession of the knowledge, skills, and disposition to understand and act creatively on issues of global significance. This is global education, and place-based learning has a lot to do and a large role to play. Thank you.